I, Jack Fisher, take you, Amy Williams, to be my lawful wife, in sickness and in blah, blah, blah. This was my most frequent dream lately, followed by a nightmare in which I realized that the truck with a trailer I saw in the mirror would not be able to stop in time and would crash into me and other cars in front of me at the traffic light. And then I realized that I was still lying in a hospital bed, and most of my body below the waist wasn't working. Amy was supposed to come soon. She came every day at 3 o'clock, sat down by my bed, and cried. She never tried to talk to me, ask how I was feeling, or if I needed anything. You know, the usual things you ask someone who's confined to a hospital bed. She usually stayed for an hour, but the last time, when she saw that my urine bag was starting to fill up, she ran out into the arms of that bastard. I don't know why I called him that. Maybe I never knew his name. Or maybe it was because my loving wife threw herself into his arms every time she left my room. I never asked her who he was. Maybe I didn't care. One day I asked Amy to stop coming. Damn it, I was depressed enough as it was, and she was only making it worse. The doctor said I had a 1 in a million chance of making a full recovery. He thought I might be able to walk with crutches. When I heard the news, I wanted to do a cartwheel. Most of my pleasant dreams were about Amy lying on the beach during our honeymoon, about how she finally agreed to go topless, and 20 minutes later we were having sex in our hotel room. Memories of Amy in that beautiful dress or lingerie. There were so many memories that made me smile. The dream about the wedding never made me smile, and I didn't know why. Seeing Amy in real life didn't make me smile, and I didn't know why. There was a gap in my memory. I remember looking in the mirror and seeing the truck, but I don't remember how much time passed. The sun was shining. That's all I remember. I don't remember anything else about that day or what I did for a living. There's a fragment of a memory of the medics trying to pull me out of what was left of my SUV. There's another fragment where people are working on me in the emergency room. My memories really start again when the doctor tells me how bad I'm in, and Amy is sitting there crying, of course. In the end, I couldn't stand Amy crying and insisted that she not be allowed to see me. This caused a big fight. The other guys didn't forbid their wives from visiting them. I told the doctor that she was killing me. My condition was already depressing enough, and her constant crying only made me feel worse. If she was going to visit me, I demanded morphine. We agreed that she would come on Saturdays and Sundays. The next Saturday, she came and handed me the divorce papers, saying, "I'm sorry, Jack. I'm just not strong enough to take care of you." Some might think I was sad because a beautiful woman was divorcing me while I lay disabled in a hospital bed, but I was happy. Maybe it was because that chapter of my life was over. Or maybe I was just tired of seeing that jerk with my wife. The wedding dreams stopped around the same time as the nightmares about the accident, but the dreams about having sex with Amy didn't stop. She noticed I was awake and told me to let her know when I was ready. We don't want your pipe to get clogged up from lack of use. And this has to be our little secret. Anyway, who would believe me? They started letting my family and friends in. Finally, people started asking if I needed anything. Number 38 was always first on my list. I learned that he worked for the electric company on the power lines. My parents were still alive, as were my brother and sister. At least one of my union comrades came to make sure that all my needs were being met. A week after my favorite night nurse visited, I was half awake when I told the nurse that my feet were cold. She dropped the tray and ran out of the ward. She didn't even try to cover my feet. I was trying to fall asleep when I heard my room number being called and my doctor being summoned. There was a lot of whispering in the room, and when I opened my eyes, I saw a crowd of people gathered around my bed. "Mr. Fisher, the nurse said you complained of cold feet," my doctor said. "Yes, and she didn't cover them as I asked." "Tell me, can you feel that?" "Damn it, you bastard!" He touched my legs with a pin. "Mr. Fisher, you have no idea how happy I am, and you don't seem to understand how happy you should be. It means that all the damage to your nervous system is repairing itself. It's time to start teaching you how to walk again." I cried like a 2-year-old boy, I cried. My parents cried when they came to visit me. My brother and sister cried with their families. Some of my friends cried when they came to visit me. It was like a circus of tears. The only one who didn't cry was Amy, because she wasn't there. My father asked if I wanted him to tell her, and I angrily said no. I apologized, and he said there was no need. And during physical therapy, I cried a lot. I cried during physical therapy. I cried after physical therapy when my muscles started to cramp. I cried when muscle spasms woke me up in the middle of the night. I think the only time I didn't cry was when my favorite night nurse came to see me. I never saw Amy stroking me in my sleep again. I never found out the nurse's name, and I think she took off her name tag before coming into my room. It was a big achievement for me when I was able to walk with the help of handrails, and an even bigger one when I was able to use a walker. I can't count how many times I fell. As soon as I could use the walker, I was discharged from the hospital. I expected my parents to take me home, but I didn't know where that was. My mom insisted that I live with them for a while because I needed help. They replaced the dining table with a hospital bed and tried to make me comfortable. My mom never left my side. Finally, I took her hand and asked her to calm down. I still knew how to shout "Mom" if I needed anything. I tried to cheer her up, but she just cried. The transition from walkers to canes was even worse. Every day, my mother took me to physical therapy. I must have tripped over that damn cane 1,000 times. I was happy to give up the canes until the pain spread to my shins. The doctor said I had an abnormal gait that put strain on my ligaments. He assured me it would go away. At home, I walked with a cane or canes every day, increasing the distance. If I could have, I would have done a cartwheel when I gave up the canes. I carried them with me for another 2 weeks, just in case I didn't have the strength to walk home. While I was in the hospital, my father hired 2 lawyers, one to sue the trucking company and the other to handle Amy's divorce. My father was usually a calm man, but this time he lashed out at Amy with a fury I had never seen before. Not that I didn't care, but I was focused on regaining my strength. I didn't think my father needed my help to get revenge for me. It was about me going back to work. My lawyer was unhappy, and the doctor was furious. The doctor wouldn't even let me drive. Everything was going well. Why ruin it by getting into another accident? 3 times a week, a nurse came to my parents' house. This gave my mother a chance to get out of the house, go shopping, and do other things. I was thrilled when my favorite night nurse came to see me. She said she could only come this one time. I was still lying in a hospital bed. No one wanted me to climb the stairs. A little later, my mother came in with a smile on her face and asked if I liked the nurse. I was finally able to work without climbing poles or doing paperwork when my very good friend Pete asked if I would be his best man at his wedding. He was afraid I wouldn't be able to handle it. I told him that I was almost as clumsy as I was before the accident, and if he was willing to put up with that, I'd be happy to do it. He and his fiancée organized several barbecues so that all the wedding guests could get to know each other. I was introduced to a young woman named Nancy. "Don't you remember me, Jack?" Caught off guard, I asked, "Do I know you?" "I'm Nancy, Pete's cousin. I spent most of the summer at Pete's house." "Oh, yes, you were much younger than us, I guess, and still are." "I'm not that much younger than you, Jack. Less than 3 years. I was a late bloomer. That's probably why you guys thought I was too young to hang out with you and didn't notice me." "Oh, I'm sorry, Nancy. At that age, if you like someone much younger than you, it seems strange." "Maybe I'll forgive you, Jack. Let's see how the wedding goes," she said with a smile. The next day, Pete came up to me and said, "I have 2 problems, Jack. My fiancée wants everyone to dance ballroom dancing after the father-daughter dance. Her parents have arranged lessons for everyone. I don't want to take you away from anything, but can you do it?" "Sure, Pete. My fitness trainer recommended it because it helps improve coordination." "What else?" "Amy is on the guest list and has already accepted the invitation. My fiancée didn't know that her college friend is the same Amy who broke up with you when you were in the hospital. We could cancel the invitation, but that would be awkward. What do you think? I think I'd really like it if Amy saw me ballroom dancing with your cousin. Nothing would make me happier. Speaking of your cousin, is Nancy seeing anyone? I've never heard of Nancy dating anyone. It was a little strange that she was at the wedding. She knew my fiancé in college, but they were never close friends. My sister will be at the wedding, and she hardly knows my fiancé. I wanted you to be at the wedding, and when you agreed, my mom insisted that Nancy be your date. I don't know where she got that idea, but my fiancé agreed. She said it would be awkward to ask one of her friends when the wedding was already set. So ballroom dancing was added to my physical training program. I was allowed to leave work for classes, but my colleagues teased me a lot when I left for dance lessons. On top of that, I had dance lessons with Nancy in the evenings. I was starting to enjoy her company and had to take care of myself after each lesson, and then again before and after each lesson. There was one move that Nancy repeated several times during the dance, pressing her chest against my leg. Every time she did it, she looked at me with a smile on her face. The wedding went off without a hitch. Amy showed up with a black eye, and I tried not to accompany them. I avoided eye contact with her, but being part of the wedding party, she surely knew I was there and walking around. Then it was time for the big ballroom dance. Nancy looked like $1 million in her dress. If I could get through this dance without getting too excited, it would be a miracle, and Nancy made sure of that. When the song ended, she pulled me close and kissed me passionately. I was still aroused and thinking about how to get off the dance floor when the second song started and we continued dancing. Somewhere in the middle of the dance, Nancy and I started kissing. We didn't even notice that the song had ended and continued kissing. During dinner, I avoided Amy's gaze. Nancy asked me to kiss her again, and of course I did. Amy's been looking at you the whole time, Jack, and every time she does, I want you to kiss me. I want her to know that you're not hers anymore. Everyone here knows what she did to you. I know you're not looking at her, but if you were, you'd notice that no one is talking to her. Nancy, no one knows that on the morning of the accident, I found her in bed with that jerk. I was working the middle shift and was supposed to work a double, but the second shift was canceled. If it weren't for that, I would never have been on the road when I was hit by a truck. The only person I told about it was my father, so I could use it in the divorce proceedings. I didn't remember it until I was discharged from the hospital, but I knew our marriage was over when I first opened my eyes after the accident and saw her crying at my bedside. Please don't tell anyone. I'm ashamed of all this. I can't believe I hate her even more now, Nancy said. Nancy and I danced as often as we could, but I was running out of strength. We were sitting at the table when Amy and that jerk came over to us. Jack, I just wanted to... I interrupted her. Just turn around and get out of here, Amy. I don't want to make a scene at Pete's wedding. She started to speak again, but Nancy stepped between us. She whispered, He's mine now, girl. You dumped him. Now get out of here with your shitty boyfriend. A crowd gathered between Amy and me, and she ran away. When she left the hall, there was applause. Nancy whispered in my ear, You know, I'm going to kick that girl's ass when I see her next time. The wedding was coming to an end. All the guests had settled into their rooms at the hotel. Like a gentleman, I walked Nancy to her room, kissed her goodnight, and turned to leave. She grabbed me by the collar and said, Where are you going, asshole? I've waited too long for this. Nancy opened the door to her room and pushed me inside. As soon as we were in the room, she literally threw herself at me. I didn't resist. Except for the nurse's visit, I literally couldn't remember the last time I had made love to a woman. Well, I've been saving this up for a long time. And Nancy, I'm really sorry I didn't realize how much you cared about me. In the end, I got what I wanted. You don't know how hard it was for me not to throw myself at you when I found out Amy was divorcing you. Mom told me to wait. I was afraid someone else would come into our lives. But I listened to her advice. Mom said you'd be invited to my wedding, and I asked her to put you on the guest list. You're scaring me a little, Nancy. Don't be afraid, Jack. I always wanted you to be my first, and I got what I wanted. I hope you'll be my last. We'll see how it goes. And I want you to be my last, Nancy. That night we made love again, but it was more like sex than love. Let's take a shower, she said. I have another dream I want to fulfill. We got dressed, and since my clothes were still in my room, I had to put my tuxedo back on. A couple of people saw Nancy and me coming out of her room and smiled broadly at us. We ran to my room, and after I changed, we went to breakfast holding hands. When we entered the room, everyone stood up and applauded, embarrassing me for the second time in 24 hours. I knew my father and Amy were in a bitter divorce battle. He was furious when he found out Amy had left me divorce papers at the hospital. When he found out that the only reason I had gotten behind the wheel was because I had caught her in bed with that jerk, he decided to burn everything to the ground. He refused to give her anything, not even part of the house or anything else. Outside the home, our assets were equal. My income was usually higher than hers because of overtime, but who knew when I would be able to work overtime again? On Monday after the wedding, when I came home from work, my mom brought me a note from the mailbox. It was from Amy. Jack, you have every right to be angry with me, and I deserve it. I've cried so many times knowing that I was the reason you ended up in the hospital. I'm truly happy that you've finally become a wonderful dancer. Nancy seems to be truly in love with you, and I hope you find the life you truly deserve with her. You probably know that my lawyer has been fighting your father's demands regarding our divorce, but I am asking him to drop the case and agree to your father's terms. I have almost taken everything away from you, and I don't want to take any more. And Jack, marry that girl. You deserve to be loved as much as she loves you. As soon as I finished reading the letter, my father called and told me the same information about the divorce. Amy had already moved all her things out of our house, so now it was officially mine, and I could move in when I was ready. I slept in my childhood bedroom and eagerly awaited the day when I could return home. I called Nancy and invited her to come with me to my house. We went inside, and nothing had really changed. We went upstairs, and when we got to the master bedroom, I felt a chill. We opened the door, and the room was completely empty. Some of my things were still hanging in the closet, but all of Amy's things were gone. There were beds in the 2 guest rooms. We went downstairs and found 2 notes and a bottle of wine on the kitchen table. One was for me, and the other was for Nancy. We opened mine first. Dear Jack, welcome home. I removed the furniture from the bedroom because I was sure you didn't want it. I donated it to a charity. I'm sure I didn't take anything that belonged to you, but if you notice anything missing, let me know. By the way, I dumped that jerk. I realized he wasn't right for you, but unfortunately it was too late. Love, Amy. Nancy, please take care of Jack. There's an old saying, you don't know what you've got until it's gone. I've made mistakes, and I'll learn to live with them. I wish you both happiness and hope your home will be filled with children. Sincerely, Amy.